Guys, so I want to do a more in-depth review on the Zomee Fit now that I've had some time to play with this pump. We actually talked about this in a previous video before it actually was in my hands. We looked at what we could see when it was listed for pre-order. So now that we've actually got it, I want to go over this pump so that you can help decide whether this is something you want to consider or not. Okay, so this is the actual pump. It is fairly small. I'm going to grab an original LV to show you. It is not quite as trim as the original LV, and you can see it definitely has a slightly different profile. But all in all, this is a pretty trim pump. It's very lightweight. It came in at 10 ounces on the scale, so definitely lighter than a lot of the pumps out there. It's not hard to fit in a bra, which is really nice. So many of these wearable pumps require you to do a lot of finagling to make the bra fit, which kind of gets obnoxious after a while, especially if you use multiple wearables, because you might need multiple different, high-priced bras in order to make your wearable pumps work. But this one just kind of slipped into any bra. I was even able to slip it into a non-nursing bra that had very little stretch, and it just fit. It really reminds me of the LV in the bra. So what I want to do, I want to show you how easy it is to assemble and disassemble. And then we're going to get into how much of the marketing of this pump has panned out with what I'm seeing. If I've seen anything that I'm like, they're not quite representing that the way that I think that should be represented to moms. We're going to talk about which inserts fit. And then we're getting into the actual science of the pump. And we're going to look at what is this pump doing in terms of what program is it running. Okay, so one of the things that I absolutely love about this pump is really simple to use. To take it apart, we're literally just going to do that. The biggest thing that I found with assembly is that when you put it together, this is the last piece to go on, and it doesn't go on until this is in the pump. So this is a fairly simple, straightforward design. You've got your silicone flange. You've got a backflow protector here, pretty standard backflow protector. You've got your connector piece here that has a duckbill seated in the bottom. And it gets a really nice firm seat. This does not feel like it's going to fall off. So what I want you to see here, see this little white band? This is actually a seal that comes off. So when you wash it, you will need to take that off. It did come with replacements. I would expect to have to replace that about as often as the duckbill, just because it's going to get stretched out with time. And that helps to prevent leaks when you are putting it onto the bottle. So this has a little bit of a base that this connects to. I always get this a little twisted around. Don't mind me. So there are little grooves, which is what I kind of struggle with. There are little grooves here. All you're going to do is you're going to twist it into place, and then you should be good to go. You're going to put your backflow protector on. And you just snap it all into place. Then you're going to take your flange and put it in place. The reason I put this on last, this flange is just sitting in here, almost like an insert sits in a traditional flange, which means it's very easy to knock this slightly out of place. And when I did that, I would actually register it on the pressure meter as a loss of suction. So you don't want to lose suction on this pump. It gets really impressive suction, and you're going to want to take full advantage of the pump that you're using. Okay, so let's get into what does the marketing say? Okay, so let's go back to the marketing that we talked about in the previous video. We've got 3 modes: stimulation, expression, and 2-phase. Absolutely. We've got 3 modes. It's exactly how they describe it. The breast shield was exactly like they described it. It did come with 17 and 21 millimeter inserts. The battery life has actually been really impressive. Mine lasted closer to 2.5 hours without any issues, and I was running it really fast doing testing. Leak proof. This is not leak proof. Exactly like I expected. The parts do have a little air hole in them, which is consistent with the way that this pump operates. So that is not quite as described. I would call it highly leak resistant. Even if you did leak moving around, you're going to be talking about drops. I don't anticipate a big issue with leaking with this pump. All right, this is one thing I do want to point out. When this pump was launched for pre-order, and when I purchased this pump, this is the photo that was on the website and on their marketing. It said an 8-ounce capacity. What arrived is a 5-ounce capacity. That is a big difference. I had a lot of oversupply moms who were really excited about this, and that's just not going to be the case. I did reach out on their social media to ask about this, and they did confirm it's supposed to be 5 ounces. This photo has since been changed. I'm assuming this was a simple human error typo. I can't find any evidence that there is an 8-ounce capacity bottle for this style of pump coming, although I think that should be something that they look for in the future. And then the display LED screen works exactly like they said it would. So I am going to turn this on now so you can see. So you're going to hit the power button, and then you've got suction up, suction down, and then you just hit this button to change modes. So this is there, and then hit the power button again to make it play. And I'm going to include a video at the end that has a better quality of being able to hear the sound, because this is my one complaint with this pump. I found it to be really comfortable, very easy to use, but my toddler kept asking if I had popcorn in my bra. So I don't know that this is one that I would want to use out and about if you're somebody who really doesn't like noises like that. And I am definitely one of those people, really like a good quiet pump. I've really become used to that non-traditional noise. So that is a concern. But yeah, you just push these buttons to go between stimulation. That noise is really noticeable in stimulation because it's happening so often. This is expression. You can hear this pump is actually, it's got really good cycle speed. And then the 2-phase mode. So I'm going to turn this off. And like I said, I recorded a video with the decibel meter on it so that you can see for yourself just how loud this is and decide, is this something that, you know, is going to bother you or not? Okay, so let's talk about inserts, because this flange was a little more tricky to work with than I expected. Okay, so the inserts that fit. It does come with 17 and 21 millimeter inserts, but when you collapse this to see the actual tunnel length, this is really short. I also surprisingly did not like how it sits in here. It leaves a rim no matter how hard you press it in. It's leaving a rim that I feel like is going to irritate a lot of areolas. So it was nice that they included it, but I don't think most people are going to love this. Inserts that did fit really well, May Mom shorts, basically just disappear against it. This was actually my favorite with this one. You know, we always have the Willow inserts, which are really thin and easily disappear against the silicone flanges. I did like the Nini supply. However, the Nini supply did a couple times kind of slip out and grab at this silicone flange. And like I said before, if this silicone flange gets moved, you lose suction. So that is something to consider, is that this did have somewhat limited inserts. It did also work with the Pumping Pretty inserts, which are a good option for flat or inverted nipples, because you can see it elevates that entrance hole so that it's fitting the breast a little bit better, and that the nipple's not trying to drop below its normal capacity to stretch to even get into the tunnel. And then Legendary inserts were a good fit. You can see this just pulled out because the silicone, it's just kind of sitting in there. So that is something. I didn't actually like this as much as I thought it would, but I didn't find it to be problematic. It was just something that I was like, oh, I'd have to learn to work with that. So let's talk about this 2-phase mode on this pump. So 2-phase mode is a combination suction pattern where we're combining long, strong pulls with short, fast pulls. So this pump is operating in a series of 5. We get 5 longer, stronger pulls. So this one goes to about 190. And then across all the settings on the 2-phase mode, which we had 9 settings, it's all about 100 for the short pull. So this one was about 100 to 190. It's not as significant of, a pull differential, which is how we describe the difference between the short and the long pull, is what you have with like a baby Buddha. But it was pretty significant. I found it to be very effective. I did not find it to be very painful. It's running fast enough and it doesn't exceed the levels that I find, like, there is a level where you really probably shouldn't put your nipple under more than 250. 270 is approaching the maximum. I worry when we go higher than that. I see a lot of tissue trauma from it. So this is not doing that. So let's look at what the individual modes are running in terms of cycle speed and strength. So simulation mode, we've got 9 levels and we're running between 45 mmHg and 130 mmHg, running about 98 to 96 cycles per minute. It's a really effective simulation mode, and the fact that you can get up to 120 to 130 means if you're somebody who really needs that faster speed, you're going to have options on this pump, which is really nice. And then on expression mode, it had cycle speeds higher than what a lot of pumps do. A lot of pumps drop down to 40 or 45 in expression mode as they're starting, and I have a lot of clients who struggle with that. This is not going to be an issue with this pump. This pump is running between 140 to 270 with cycle speeds as fast as 60 in expression mode. It did drop down to 24, but for a motor this size, I don't think you can expect it to pull above 225, 230 and not be down in those really slow cycle speeds. It's just not that big of a motor. There are limitations to it. But it got really impressive suction. And then we've got combination mode, which is, the one that I showed you that first picture graph of. It's one of the things that the Zomee Z2 is known for. And one of the biggest questions that I've heard on social media about this pump is, how does this pump's 2-phase compare to the Zomee Z2's 2-phase? Unfortunately, they're not the same. The Zomee Z2 is well known for its simulation mode, or that mixed mode, because it is so effective, but it's not quite the same pattern. So the Zomee Z2 is operating in a pattern of 1 long pull and then 5 short pulls. So it has a very dramatic effect, whereas the 5 pull pattern on the Zomee Fit is actually a little bit more comfortable. It's a little less jarring. It gives your nipple a little bit of time to adjust to each setting, and I found it triggered letdowns a little bit faster. In terms of cycle speeds, the Zomee Fit is not running anywhere near the Zomee Z2 speeds. The Zomee Z2 is running at 218 cycles per minute in its stimulation mode. The pump is fast. You're just not going to find a wearable with those type of speeds, at least not yet. We really don't see that yet. And then higher suction, the Zomee Fit actually gets higher suction than the Zomee Z2. So what that should tell you is that we really don't have a lot of suction complaints about the Zomee Z2. So the Zomee Fit, if you're using the Zomee Z2 and you're not having to use that 218 cycles per minute, this is probably going to be a really good wearable that would give you, kind of a balance between wireless freedom and, more durable portable pumps. Okay, so overall, I'm a fan. My biggest thing that I would want people to know about is this flange. It is going to have to be periodically replaced, maybe a little bit more than people are used to replacing flanges, just because it is flexible and how it sits. It was not the super easy fit for inserts, but I had a whole list of them that's going to cover the vast majority of people's needs. So unless you're outside of that standard range, we're probably going to have an insert option for you, no problem. And then that noise that it makes, like I said, that popping noise is very noticeable. I wouldn't say it's problematic, but it's not something I would want to be using while I'm on a teleconference. It's not something I would necessarily want to be using when I'm trying to discreetly pump in public. So other people have different opinions. I have other people who use really loud pumps and it doesn't bother them at all. It really kind of comes down to a sensory thing. But like I said, I'm going to include that video at the end so that you can take a listen and see. But overall, this pump was really impressive, especially at the price point. So if you are looking for a wearable and what you want is that 2-phase mode, a little bit of a discreet fit, pretty easy to work with. It's going to work pretty much straight out of the box, no more adjustment than what we see with any standard breast pump. This could be a really good option for you. I was very pleased. So I'll add that video at the end and, take a listen before you purchase it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this.